to level 1 of the Premiere Pro training. This is all the stuff that we'll be going over today. How fun. And I'm going to walk through and show you how to make this little video. And as you can see, it just has a couple of moving parts, and I'm going to show you how to add different things and make things in Premiere Pro. So I'll go ahead and open up the app. Alright, so we're going to push new project, and you can just name it whatever you want. And then this is just where it will choose to save, and you can choose to use different project templates, and you can download free ones from the internet, but we're just going to make one from scratch and hit create. So first we're going to import all of our media. So you'll need all of these. You just hit import, and then all of your files should be over here. So up in this corner, there's different workspaces just like in Illustrator and Photoshop, and we're just going to start in the Essentials workspace. So the first thing that we're going to add into our sequence is the background file, because whatever file you add in first determines the size of your screen that you're going to be making your video on. And most videos are the dimensions are 1920 by 1080, and that's the size of this background. And then I'm going to extend this video to be 10 seconds long. Now we can add in our logo. Just drag it into here, and as you can see, it looks really small, and I'm going to make it so that it starts a little bit after the very start, just because I like that transition style. But you're going to double click on the logo and make it bigger. Oh, and then you're going to want to definitely use the lock tool. So if you don't want your background and stuff moving around after you're done using it, you just hit the lock at the left bottom. So I'm going to make my logo about that size, and I'm going to lock it because I want it to stay. And now I'm going to go over to the Captions and Graphics workspace. So if we go to the Type tool, we can just drag and then start typing. I'm just going to type welcome to, and then obviously we're going to want to make it bigger. And it says that the max here is 400, but that's not true. You can make it bigger just by scrolling, or I can type, and I'm going to make mine 420. And then you can center your text. I'm going to change it to Beyond Brand. We want Avenir. I'll do black, and then I'll change the 2 to actually be light. Okay, so we have this, and then we can also use these position tools. So I'm going to center my text. Perfect. Make it a little bit lower. And now that's all I really want to do with my text. I'm going to keep it pretty simple there. And I'm going to move this sequence over to the beginning where my logo starts. And then I'll extend it to be the same length as well. So as you can see, if we start our video, we have our words that just suddenly appear onto the screen, and that's usually not really good practice, doesn't look very good. So we're going to go over to the Effects workspace panel, and we're going to go to Effects up here and use Video Transitions. There's tons of different video transitions that you can use and experiment with. So for my welcome to, I'm going to just use wipe transition. So I just drag that over to there, and I use the same one for the end. So as you can see, it transitions a little bit better, doesn't look as blocky. And we'll do the same thing with the logo. But I'll do a different transition. I'm going to do center split and drag that onto my logo. And then it looks like that at the beginning, and the end transitions as well. So it looks a lot better already. So now we're going to add our blocks that come across the entire screen. So we're going to go back into the captions and graphics workspace. We're going to go back into the captions and graphics workspace. And I'm going to go to this rectangle tool and just drag a long rectangle. Okay. So I have my rectangle selected. I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool and just eyedrop from the blue. Select it, hit Command C, Command V, and then I can drag it away. And it's important that your rectangles are in a different graphic than your words. You want those to be separate because when we move them, if they're in this panel with the welcome to, then the welcome to would also be moving. So you want to make sure that when you make the first rectangle, that you're clicked out of everything and then you make it. Alright, so I'm going to select this one, Command C, Command V. Make another one. And doesn't have to be perfect because there's also positioning tools in Premiere Pro, which is really helpful. And I'm going to change the fill of this one to be yellow. And I'm going to change the fill of this one to be red. And then I'm going to select all of them by holding Shift. And I'm going to make sure that they are aligned on the align right. And then I'm going to distribute them vertically so that they're evenly spaced. Perfect. And now I'm going to start making everything move. So at the very end of the clip, if you go to the end and you can still see these, you're going to want to highlight all of them and then hit the position timer. And now we're going to move this time bar all the way to the beginning of our graphic clip, and we'll go to the position panel and slide the number back until the rectangles are off of the window. Okay, perfect. So now when I play my clip, you can see that it moves. And that's how you do positioning, at least with longer elements. If it's going to stay on the screen the entire time, then you don't have to do that drag thing, but we'll get to that later. So now we are going to add in our little sparkle effects. And even though there's like not another slot, if you just drag it into the editing panel, it'll make a slot. It'll make room for it. So as you can see, our sparkles are on here, and I'm gonna move them here. I'm gonna be able to see all of it. So I'm gonna move the sparkles to be right above my welcome to, and I want them to start off to be a little bit bigger. And now I'm going to do something similar as like the positioning, but we're going to do that with scale. So they are going to get bigger and smaller so they look like they're kind of flickering. So while that's selected, you're going to hit scale, the little scale timer over here. And about a little bit less than a second, I'm going to, I need to lock everything else. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to select my sparkles and then make them smaller, and then go a little further in the video clip and make them bigger, go further, make them smaller, and so on until the end of the clip. Okay, so now that I have that, now you can see they kind of grow bigger and smaller, and I realized I want this clip to actually be a little bit shorter than the other stuff, just because when it cuts off, the sparkles do not need to be there. So I'm going to end them a little bit sooner. Okay, so now I'm going to add that like flicker effect onto them. If we go back into the effects workspace, we're going to find the strobe light video effect, and all you have to do is grab the strobe light effect and then drag it onto the sparkles And there's going to be all these different options, but basically you don't want them to go to white. You want them to go to like a little bit lighter yellow. So I'm going to eyedrop this yellow and just make it lighter, like that. And then you start from the beginning. You can see they get lighter and they twinkle and they grow, and it's great. So now we're going to add in our next element, which is we're going to do the box next. So I'm going to add that at the same place my sparkles are and extend it to the same length as them. And I'm going to lock my sparkles because I don't want them to move anymore. So now with my box, I'm going to move it over here kind of by the M. And all the box is going to do is rotate. It's going to tilt back and forth. And I'm going to start at the beginning of the box clip, and I'm going to hit the rotation timer, toggle that animation. Going to tilt it that way, go a little bit further in the timeline, tilt it the other way, go a little bit further, and just keep doing that until it's at the end of the clip. Perfect. And now that I've done all of that, if you start at the beginning of the clip, you can see the little box rotates. I'm going to push save again, but that's what we want it to do. So the last part of this tutorial is I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the arrow. So you're just going to drag it into here, extend it, and lock the box. And what we're going to do with the arrow is basically everything that we have done so far. So if you can see in this video, it both changes sizes, it moves, and it rotates across the screen. We're going to grab the arrow. I'm going to start it over here, and I want it to actually start lower, like it's coming onto the screen. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller actually. Okay, so now at the beginning of the clip for the arrow, we're going to hit the position timer. So I'm going to move up the timer and then move the arrow where I want it to go. As you can see, it's like kind of tracking it. So with the rectangles on the side, because it wasn't always on the screen, not all parts of it were on the screen, we had to do the slider thing. But because this is always on the screen, we can just kind of animate it easier. It will show where it's going to go. So now I'm going to move it a little bit further in the timeline, on other parts of the screen, move a little further, make it look like it's clicking on the sparkles. And then at the very end, it goes back to where it was before, just kind of pointing at the title. If we go back and look at our video, it's kind of clunky right now because I'm both recording and making a video, but that's how it looks right now when it's moving. So now we're going to go ahead and change the scale, just like we did with the sparkles. So I'm going to start changing the scale kind of about there. Select the arrow and hit the scale timer. So I'm going to make it grow here, and then a little bit further in the video, I'm going to make it start getting smaller again. Move a little bit further in the video, start making it bigger again, and so on until the end. Okay, so now that is done. If I run through it again and show you guys, now you can see it gets smaller and bigger, changes sizes, makes it a little bit more interactive and interesting to look at. Okay, so the last part with the arrow is we are going to make it rotate so that it changes the directions it's pointing. So again, at the very beginning of the clip, we're going to hit the rotation. I'll go further in my clip where I want it to kind of change direction, and I will just rotate it until the very end of my clip. Alright, so I finished with the rotation tool, and so this is how our video looks now that it's done. Hopefully yours looks somewhat similar, but if you wanted to change stuff up a little bit, that's fine too. And so now that our video is done, I'm going to show you guys how to export. So if you go to the top left, all you have to do is go to export. Since you're going to be sharing this video, just put your name and then level 1. And make sure you save it in the right place. You want it to be H.264. This is going to save it in a MP4 file. And then you just hit export, and it might take a couple of minutes. But that is the end of this tutorial. Just make sure you share that video and have people look at it, make sure it looks good, and these are the learning objectives, so hopefully you understand and are able to remember everything from this video.